Hello everybody, this is Trina. Don't mind my voice. I'm kind of clogged up, getting over a cold, so this process just for the cover page just kind of ended up a little bit longer because I had an idea and I wanted to try it. So it took about, this is just the cover page for this video, so but it's a process that you can use on layouts or cards or mixed media projects. It's lots of different techniques going on here, so keep that in mind when you think of the amount of time it takes. So the first thing I'm doing is I've got my pre-made planner page. It's just a piece of cardstock, and I've cut it down to I think it's just over 6 by just over 8, and I've punched my holes. It's for an A2 size planner. A2? I think it's A2. Anyways, so I'm stamping the houses from the documented card making stamp set from Close to My Heart. It's retired, but I think you can still get it as of today. You can still get it on my website. I'll leave that link down below. So I'm using clear embossing ink, which is VersaMark ink to stamp my houses. And these ones worked perfectly for like a haunted houses style, so I'm heating from the front and the back. I poured some really old black. It's kind of got glitter in it a little bit, but you can't really tell when you actually look at it. But I heated it up, and so I'm also using my Bunches of Love stamp set. And I just love this flower bunch. It's very, very versatile. And so I'm using my homemade anti-static bag so that I can make sure it doesn't, because I'm going to emboss this as well. So I'm just using this kind of like, you know, when you look through bushes or when people draw art or create art where it looks like you're looking at a scene through bushes, you know, from a faraway distance. That's kind of what I was going for with the whole flowers around the bottom edge. I didn't really want it to go all the way around the page. It probably would have looked fine if I had, but I definitely wanted to do this around the bottom edge. Now, this is not my first run doing this layout. I tried it a couple of different times to see which tips and techniques needed to go first, which ones needed a little, you know, to be changed up. Like, I stamped my flowers and my houses in just black ink, and while it worked, it didn't turn out anything like it does this go around. So I'm really happy with the way this one turned out, and so I'm just taking a paintbrush with a really pointy tip, and I'm cleaning up any extra pieces of black embossing powder that I don't want in those places. So, and if you accidentally like knock off parts that you do want, you can just cover it back up and it should stick just fine. So that, like I said, is really old embossing powder, like really old embossing powder. I think I've had it since I first, like right after I first started scrapbooking, which was in like 2002. So I don't think that was when I got it, but it was right around, like possibly a little bit after that. So so right now I'm just heating up the embossing powder, and I just wanted to make sure I was using a medium that didn't spread with water. or ink or when it got damp or wet. So that definitely helped. And I don't care that it covered up it went into one of the houses. I think that's just fine. It just kind of makes it a little bit more spooky-ish. So as you can see kind of see the colors that I used. So these masks, I really just cut them, like the circle I cut with, in fact I cut them all with my X-Acto knife. I just took a self-healing mat and I put it down, this is a printer paper, piece of printer paper, and I cut it down just a little bit bigger than my paper, and then I just decided I want a hill, so I just kind of cut a semicircle, and then for the circle I did use my blue cup that I've been using a lot for my monthly spreads, but I went ahead and cut different shapes for the hills and stuff like that, and I just kind of went off of what my idea was. So just before a little bit ago I showed you the colors that I'm using. Let me see if I can find them again. Alright, so we have from lightest to darkest. So I use White Daisy, and these are all from Close to My Heart inks. So I use White Daisy, and I use Mink, and I use Lemon, and Saffron, and Pansy, and New England Ivy, and Peacock, and my Archival Black, and of course my VersaMark pad. But for the ink colors, that's pretty much it. So you'll kind of see I go in with the Peacock first and around the edges, and then it's interesting because the Peacock has just like, it's kind of like a teal color, like a dark bluish green teal color, more bluey teal color, but you can definitely feel the green. So I didn't expect it to change into a sapphire color, which I totally could have used sapphire, but I was using the same color theme as the documented collection, which is what my planner is decked out in. So I went ahead and used the Pansy for the center around the moon, and then the Peacock for around the outside. And when I blended the Pansy with the Peacock, it turned it into a sapphire color, which is like a navy blue, and that was really cool. And then I just added some black to darken it up to make it more like a night sky. And I'm just going back and forth with my blending tools. Sometimes I start off, if I feel like I got too much ink, I just start off of the page and go on. So if you get used to how you do it, you can just start on, you just go really lightly in circles. So that works too. It just takes a lot of practice, and being patient with yourself really is the key. I haven't done a whole lot in the way of ink blending before this, so especially with all these colors, so it was kind of cool to be able to try this, which is part of why it took so long, and I ended up having to fast forward because this process did take a while. So what I used I just used the White Daisy pigment pad from Close to My Heart for the stars, and it just kind of makes it look like a clear night sky, which is funny because our Halloweens are never clear. They're always rainy. In fact, I think I've only had I've lived in many places, and this last year was the only time I think I've ever had a not rainy. It was cloudy, but it was not rainy Halloween. So, but the clear night sky is funny. I guess it just does kind of, I guess, just the darkness, because the clouds, they make it dark, but they still reflect the light from the earth, you know, from the cities and stuff like that. So yeah, they kind of lighten up the sky just a little bit. But so these are also from the Bunches of Love stamp set, and they are just like filler. One of them is flower colorings, and then like the color for the outlined flower. And then I'm just using them for the like circles and craters in the moon. And I'm using them first in the Mink, and then I'm doing them in the Saffron. And I stamped off on the Saffron, so I didn't get them quite so dark, but I did get one dark, but it all kind of blends out and works really well together in the end. So I'm going over the whole moon in lemon, and I'm trying, I know that I'm going to kind of go over it with a couple of layers, so I'm just blending around in different places, and now I'm kind of going in with the saffron and trying to make sure that it's not too dark, so I stamp off a little bit with it, or blend on a little bit on the side. But I'm going in with a little bit of saffron, make the crater areas a little bit darker, and then I'm going to go back over the whole thing with the lemon. So it's kind of like the same thing you would do with markers, as far as, you know, when you color, you go over, you know, you do your first layer of light, then you go with your medium, and then you go with your dark, and then you go back over with your light. I guess it kind of depends on which technique you're going for, but that's usually how I do my markers. But I love how this moon turned out. So what I'm kind of doing is I'm using the edge, and I'm putting it in my lemon ink, and I'm trying to just go right before the edge of the circle, so that it can give like a little bit of a darker ring, or a lighter ring around the very edge of the moon. And there we go. Isn't that cool? I was so excited when I first figured this out, because I've been imagining this for a while. And so yeah, that is the top half of that cut. So like I said, I've been imagining this for a while, and I was so excited when I finally got to actually put it together. So now I'm going to be going in with the other masks, and the houses, and mostly just see. I'm trying to see if I need to cover those houses up yet, because I'm going to work my way from the top to the bottom. And this one is I kind of want it. I want a hill behind the house, and then I want it to kind of want two hills behind the house, but I want it to look like it's sitting on the hill closest. So that would be the second hill there. So I'm starting at the bottom of the hill, and because I want that to be darker, because I want it to look like the moon is shining on the hill. So I'm going ahead and using my New England ivy, and I'm going darker to lighter from the bottom to the top, and then I'm adding in my black just to darken the whole thing up, and I'm kind of going over the, like, a little heavier with the black on the edges, like the left and right edges of the page, just because I kind of want to frame the whole thing. And then I'm going to go back over with my green. And that really blends the black and the green, or the black and the New England ivy together, and makes it even a darker color. So see, we've got light going on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and mask these. And like I said, these ones are already colored because I did a tried trial and error one thing going on with this idea. Excuse me. So I'm trying to figure out, because I know that I want them, all the houses, to look like they're sitting on a hill. So I'm trying to do that, but at the same time not, like, I'm trying to figure out what I want where and how I want it to look. And I feel like that needs to be, you know, have something there, but I don't know what yet. So I'm just kind of figuring out where I want to place my things. And I don't want that side over there to stick up past that hill. So I go ahead and just trim that off. That's one thing that's nice about masks, is you can make them out of paper and they work perfectly. And printer paper, you can get 1,000,000 for not very much. So, and again, I'm going ahead and doing the same technique. And I don't have to mask off the top. The reason I masked off the moon, above the first set of, or the first layer of grass, mountain, I guess, was because I didn't want the green getting on the moon and the sky. So, but because the hills are all the same color, I didn't feel the need to mask off the top part of it. So, again, I'm making sure that I keep that little ridge of lighter color going on, and I'm really trying to get some darker green going in. And when I blend right up to that line. Like, I just imagine a white line there and I just kind of blend it up to that point. Now I'm going back in with the black and I'm making it darker up the sides, just like I did the other side. And as you can see, I'm not coloring the flowers that I embossed up the sides and around the bottom. I'm not coloring them with any specific color. So that is, it lends itself to focusing on the houses and the moon and the stars. And because if I had, filled them in with color, they would be a main focus, or like, their own individual color. Like, I could totally have done pansy for the flowers, and then, New England ivy specifically for the leaves, or darkened them or lightened them or something. But I really like how it just kind of adds a little bit of a dark, mysterious frame around the edge. And yes, they are flowers, so they're not really dark and mysterious, but because they kind of blend into the background, that's where the mysterious feeling comes in. So and this one I'm doing the same exact thing and just peeling the layers off as I go. And because it's the bottom, it's going to turn out a little bit darker than the two top ones because I did a darker blend around all of the edges. So, and these little hills, they have more edge than the others do. So again, I'm still doing that little ridge of light across the top of the hill. And one thing to make them, I don't know how to explain it, the moon is shining from behind the hills, so some light, because it's above the hills, will get onto the top of the hills. So I kind of wanted to highlight that and make sure that that was, noticed. So now I'm peeling off, very gently peeling off the masks. Those are also made out of printer paper, and they did great. And one thing that I loved about this was all of that ink that I put on there did not bleed through. So the back is nice. It's nice and clear so that I think I'm going to go ahead and put a master list on the back side. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see how that works. So right now I'm using the Saffron ink, and I britzed it just, or I'm dipping my water very, very lightly into, or dipping my paintbrush, excuse me, into very, very lightly into water. So I just get a little tiny bit of water because I don't want it to go through the backside. And then I'm adding it to my inkwell on the back side, or on the lid of my ink pad. All of the new Close to My Heart ink pads have that, just so you know. It's a pretty awesome feature. I've kind of shown it off in my several previous videos, but I'm going ahead and coloring in all of the windows. I suppose I could have made some of them dark. I didn't even think about that, so that it looked like there was lights that were off, but I could totally go back in and do that if I wanted to. I just don't know which ones I would pick. I guess it wouldn't really matter, but I don't know. Too many windows to choose from. So this is another thing that I love to do with my ink pads. No bleed, yay! Is watercolor. I love watercoloring. I love water splattering. I love all of the things that you can do with ink. And I love that you can do them with all the colors that you get from Close to My Heart. So in this particular area here, I'm going ahead and I'm trying to watercolor the black. And I'm sorry, I get out of focus. I think I just forgot that I was zoomed in quite so much. There we go. And I want it to be watercolored, colored in, and I was thinking about using the distress, or not the distress, but ink blending them, out, and I really wanted the windows yellow, and I didn't want to have to add some kind of like glue, glitter glue, or colored stickles kind of thing, because then it will totally cover up like the definition of the windows, and I didn't want that. So each of these sets of windows are pretty unique, so I didn't want to do that. So the archival ink is a bit harder to watercolor with, just so you know. On one of my test runs, I added a whole bunch of water, and while it was a lot easier to paint, it definitely bled through. And so I was trying to be very careful and use just a small amount of water, which made it very, difficult for me to color in. It took a bit more time than I expected. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of these, and of course I have to touch things up. So, I could have colored these houses in different colors, but I was going for, more of a old-fashioned white, white house in a shadow, because the moon's coming from behind the houses. I wanted them to be kind of dark and black and kind of look like stone, but you can't really tell that it's stone kind of look. So, and I was really surprised that none of this bled through. Like, I just double checked it because I was like, I added quite a bit of water to that one. I'm pretty sure it's going to bleed through, and it seriously did not bleed through. I was so excited. There's nothing like getting your page most of the way done, and then all of a sudden you've got bleed through the back side where you didn't want it. That's a pain. So some of this I feel like I need a bigger brush, but in between the windows are so little that I definitely need to stick with the smaller brush. Another thing that I love about these stamp sets is you can You can lighten them, you can darken them, you can make them colorful, you can make them whatever you want them to be. I mean, I could have done the embossing in a glitter embossing and had glittery houses. I could have done a lot of different ideas with these houses. They're something that I am very excited that I have. And like I said, they're in the clearance section or soon to go section. I can't remember. I'll look it up and leave the direct link down below in the description box. But I am very excited that these are still available for people. So this is the beginning of the second week in October, and yes, I'm running a little late, but I'm getting it done, slowly but surely. Being sick really kind of makes you take longer on things. So I'm just taking the Pansy, and I'm kind of going over the windowsills and the door frames, and just kind of even one of the doors, and just kind of giving it just a little bit of color. I like that it gave a little bit of variation so that the whole entire house was, each entire house wasn't black. So, this, I believe, is part of, or the last, oh, yep, this one I'm kind of sketching out the shadow for the house. Like the moon would be shining on it and it would cast a shadow. And I guess technically I didn't need that, but it just felt like it needed it. I'm not sure why. Just kind of make it a little bit more spooky and kind of fill in this space. And I'm just kind of doing a rough shape, just kind of what I see. And I'm sorry I'm not in focus this time around, but hopefully I'll notice and move it up. And again, I'm trying my hardest to do this part with out any bleed through on the back side. So I'm adding water, but very light amounts, so I have to go over it several times with ink. But it turns out pretty good in the end. I wanted to darken it up a little bit more right by where the house is, so because that really would be the darkest area. So I'm going ahead and stamp October on my moon. And that wasn't a perfect stamp, but I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm not too worried about that. One of my test runs here, I put the circle on my moon to do the back, like the sky, and when I pulled it up, it had stuck so hard that it ripped the paper, and I was just like, okay, well, this one's definitely going to be a practice run. So I'm just kind of going over the hills a little bit with a 0.8 pen. It's like a felt tip pen kind of thing from American Crafts. I think it's a journaling pen. Precision pen. And it is waterproof, non-bleeding, acid-free, fade-proof. So I just kind of went and I just wanted to do just a little bit of a line over the top of those, and that. Now I'm gonna go. Okay, so that's the base, and then so this stamp set comes with. They're like a messy version of a filler stamp. For color and stuff. If you've seen my past videos, I've done a few cards with these stamps, with stamp set, the Bunches of Love stamp set. And so I'm just going in with black, or with my Archival Black, just to darken up the flowers and make them a little bit more noticeable. And it kind of adds a little bit of depth to the page as well. So not only does the outline add depth, but now we have a little bit of darkness that you have to see through, to really bring the focus to the houses and the moon and the sky. So it just kind of helps frame the picture that I'm creating. So I was really excited with how this turned out. I didn't honestly think it would be what it is. I had an idea of what it is, and right there I was saying that it just feels like there needs to be something on that big hill, like it needs to be filled in with something, and I'm just not sure what. So yeah, there's the Bunches of Love stamp set. You can kind of see how there was fillers and everything in there. I was kind of showing you. No bleed through, and there still needs to be something there, and I'm just not sure. And then I'm thinking maybe use that stamp set, and then I'm gonna kind of fiddle fart around with the idea. I just don't know. I don't know if I want to do that or not. It fits perfectly. And so that's when I wasn't sure if I wanted to or not. So just when I thought I was done, I was like, okay, it really needs filled in. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, look at that. I haven't even done that yet. Okay. So I found another stamp set. I think it's called Beautiful You. And it's a retired one, but I think this one you could still find in my website. And these are the veins for the leaves, and I decided, you know what, they would work perfect as dead or hibernating trees. So ta-da, we have hibernating trees, and they're little, just like my little houses, so that was perfect. And so I'm just kind of mix and matching them and putting them in random places just to kind of fill up the extra open spaces. So it didn't look so bad with the extra open spaces, but I like the idea of having, you know, trees, dead looking trees. It just kind of adds a little spook to it. They're not really dead, they're just hibernating. So, and there's 3 different size leaves in that stamp set, so I get 3 different sized trees, which is kind of awesome. It works out nice for me. And I may use this, I'm going to keep these same kind of sets going throughout the rest of my October pages. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with those as of yet. I really need to get that figured out because, like, I'm running out of time. So I will figure them out. I just haven't yet. I have an idea. So we'll see if I go with it or not. I'm going ahead and deciding I'm going to stamp it. Is it just me, or does it look a little crooked? It doesn't want you to move the stamp, but when you look at it, oh, maybe it's just because the whole thing is a little bit crooked. That may be it. Sorry for the headshot. I'm just trying to line it up and get it straight so that it's not, crooked. So, and that's the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday banner across the top. The stamp set is dates to remember, and it's current. Excuse me. Right now, as of when this video goes up. So if you want this stamp set, I will be using the stamp set later in my layouts and stuff like that too. So see, there we go. I totally could have done black embossing powder, but I decided I'm just not going to. So here's a little bit more of a close-up, and I will talk at you guys later. I hope you guys come back for the rest of my planner setup. So I will see you guys in a while. Bye.